Hi, everyone. Welcome to Tech Down Over. Jeff said I'm the rugged guy today because I've been growing my beard out, so I'm the rugged guy. And Jeff is joining us with a little bit of a mild cold from Melbourne, Australia. Yes. As you can tell, he is the down under guy, not the up over here guy, and not too far from Hollywood. Yep. So, and today...
And we have a guest today.
We do, and a good guest. Somebody that we've been watching and admiring for a long time. We enjoy his work, and we said, we need people we enjoy to come on this show. So we invited him on, and he'll be on in about a second. We're going to run our intro first. Here we go. Well, Jeff, you always say you're lonely, and you've been searching for a guest. Well, we have a very good guest today. Somebody that we've watched on YouTube. We're all in the same business. We all love our gear. We love our cameras. We do professional work. And it's always fun to watch a professional who's out there doing a good job, maybe even a great job, because it inspires all of us to do a better job. And with us today is... Let me get the shot right here. Sorry about that. We have got with us today Darren Miles from DarrenMilesPhotography.com. And Darren, how are you today?
I'm doing great, guys. How you doing? Thanks for having me.
We're doing really good, and we're more than glad you could come. Now, we've been watching you for a while, all your podcasts. You do a lot of lens reviews and occasionally camera reviews, and I've enjoyed both. Now, what got you into photography?
That's actually a really great question. If you asked me 10 or 15 years ago what I'd be doing at this point in my life, photography probably would be like number 100 on the list. What really happened was, the way it started, I basically was a child in the 1970s, and I grew up in a family that had like old film cameras, and I was the fourth child out of four. And when I go through old family photo albums, there's lots and lots of pictures of my oldest brother. And as we start getting further and further down the line in the family, by the time I rolled around, when I go through old family photos, it's just basically a picture of me and Santa Claus like once a year, and that's it. So I decided that I was going to do a better job of documenting my kids than my parents did of documenting me, so I started taking pictures. And I think like a lot of people, you're trying to figure out how to get off automatic, and you learn what those other settings do on your camera. And after about 6 months to a year of doing that, friends and family started asking me questions like, hey, those are great pictures of your kids. Will you take pictures of our kids? I'll pay you to do it. And I was like, really? Okay. And that's really how it started. It's kind of taken off from there.
Well, that's what I really enjoy about you too. I read a little bit of your bio on your website, and you said you've been doing this now for 10 years, and you just basically made your passion come to life, and that's great.
Yeah, I never knew it was a passion. I never knew I had an artistic bone in my body, honestly. I was a corporate sales guy.
Were you really? What were you selling?
I sold freight for Federal Express, and I worked for FedEx for 13 years, and it's a wonderful company, and it was a great experience. And I lived in a couple of different countries. When I say that was not with FedEx, but when I say I lived in a couple of different countries, just for clarification, I spent a lot of time, with FedEx, I spent most of my time in Mexico. I worked there. My last 3 years were, Mexico was my territory, and I literally spent, of those 3 years that I was living in Miami, I spent 2.5 of it in Mexico. I mean, I've got the passport stamps to prove it.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I know a lot of FedEx people.
Now, Darren, I'm a big fan of your reviews, and I really think you put such a great lot of work into your reviews. Do you have a particular formula that you follow? Because you just seem very natural at what you do.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Particular formula, I think if you look at the lens reviews, they've been pretty consistent. I kind of focus on things that I thought were important from a potential buy or no buy decision. Build quality, optical quality, AF speed and accuracy, and then value. Because sometimes, you'll see a lens that has certain characteristics, like a maximum f1.8 aperture. Like just recently, I reviewed the Sony 55mm f1.8, And I think the big question there is why is an f1.8 lens $1,000? Because if you look around at like other nifty 50s, like the Nikon or the Canons, they're all like maybe $150 to $200, maybe $300 at the most. So what was so special about this f1.8 lens? So I often question, what's the value proposition here? Why is this so much more expensive? So do I follow a formula? I mean, I think I'm consistent unless the lens doesn't have a certain attribute, like it doesn't have autofocus, for example. But in general, I try to stick to those same 5 principles, because those seem to be the 5 things that I found most interesting, or things I was most interested in when I was making a buy or no buy decision.
Yeah, and
do you do sort of write a script for them, or do you just go off your personal knowledge and just go off the cuff?
It's a little bit of both. I do write scripts, but they're kind of outlines. I more or less know what I want to say, and I'll put it up in a teleprompter, just to make sure that I stay on point and get through what I want to get through. I would say about 50 to 60% of the reviews are written and prompted, and the other 30 to 40% is ad-libbed as I go. If I want to add in certain points or make more emphasis about certain points.
I remember watching one of your reviews for the Ronin, and I'd just made a visit to the US, and a friend of mine had just bought the stabilization suit that you'd bought, I think, and then you saw the Ronin. So what's your opinion still on the Ronin? Is it still good?
I think the Ronin is awesome. I think it's great. There's a lot of new handheld gimbals like Owl Dolly, or I think it's Team Rebel Design has the DS1 and the MS1. Those are great little handheld devices. I mean, you can move around with them and they're great, but they have some limitations, and specifically size and weight limitations and the center of gravity. If you can't balance it, you kind of have no choice but to go towards something like a Ronin. The new Ronin M is really good too, because it has I think it's a 5-pound weight limit, whereas the original Ronin, I think you can move around like 12 or 14 pounds of actual gear weight on that thing, and that in and of itself, granted, it's hard to carry around, but I love the Ronin. I think it's great. I really do.
Jeff, didn't you just buy
I've
one?
been looking. Sorry, what was that, Rick?
Didn't you just buy a gimbal?
I just bought one of the little DJI Osmo. Have you seen that little gadget?
Yeah. It's basically correct me if I'm wrong, it's basically the Inspire camera on a little handheld gimbal, is it not?
That's right. So if you do have the Inspire, you can buy just the handle and just connect the camera to it. But it's quite a handy little thing. But I was looking at one of your other reviews, and I also liked it similar to that Behold MS1. I think that's a similar sort of style.
Yep, very similar. The Beholders that Team Rebel Design puts out, those are actually really neat. They're really versatile. They're not perfect, but they do a really good job on the whole. And depending on what your camera and lens combination are, they work really well. They really do.
And I think a lot of our things with photography and that, it's all got to do with stability, especially when we're talking about, and I saw with delight your video on the Sony A7, and I must tell you, I'm so confused with the Sonys because I have no idea what I'm looking at with the A7s lately, but I think you did explain and got me onto the right, I know exactly what I'm looking at now.
Yeah. Well, I've got a real serious love-hate relationship with Sony. I think, I'll tell you, there are a lot of Sony fanboys out there. And if you criticize the cameras too much, people will come after you. Like, they don't like their own personal buying decisions being questioned. But I think Sony's really on the right track, and I think they're really kind of the innovation leader right now on the whole. But if you've used the Sony A7, world according to me, just my opinion, I think the menu systems are terrible. I mean, I think they're just bad. The fact that there's one memory card slot, for some folks, that's a big deal. For me, it's kind of a big deal. I shoot weddings, and I just don't feel comfortable using a camera with one memory card slot. I know some folks say you can recover the images. I still just don't like using one memory card slot. That's just my opinion. And the battery life is just, it's just bad. It's just bad. There's no two ways about it. But the cameras themselves are incredibly capable. And
they use the same batteries across every camera they have, and they basically suck. You get about maybe 2 hours with luck.
If you're lucky.
If you're lucky.
I mean, I think with the A7S, if I start filming, I'm 10 minutes into a shoot and I'm already down to 60% power.
Oh wow!
And it's madness to me because I just see like having to bring multiple batteries, and if you add the grip to it and you're using a stabilizer, you have to. It's just I don't know. There's a lot of technical challenges or a lot of ergonomic challenges with the Sonys that drive me crazy. But it's incredibly unfortunate to me because I think they're totally on the right track, and I think they're definitely leading innovation, but I don't think the innovations that they're utilizing are quite ready to be mass marketed yet. And there are some photographers out there that completely disagree with me, and I get it. But Sony just doesn't work for me when I compare it to a Canon or a Nikon. I throw a battery in there, and that battery will last almost an entire wedding. With Sony, I'd have to bring 4 or 5 batteries with me.
Now, what do you think of something like the GH4, the Panasonic GH4, to shoot a wedding? That thing has 8-hour battery almost. It's amazing.
It's a wonderful camera. Yeah. I think the GH4 all around is really, really capable. I mean, personally, I don't know if you've seen a lot of my reviews. For me personally, my favorite line of cameras is actually Olympus, believe it or not.
Interesting. Okay.
I love Olympus. I can't use them professionally for a lot of stuff, specifically weddings because of the one memory card slot.
Yep.
And truthfully, Micro Four Thirds sensors, they're nice. They're really nice. They're capable of beautiful photos, especially in good light. But as soon as you start getting into crummy lighting and you have to bump up your ISO to 1600 or 3200, they kind of fall apart. It's too bad because ergonomically and the lens selection and the portability, I think Olympus is just awesome. I love Olympus. I really do.
It's interesting. I just bought the Olympus. I think it was EM5 or something like that. And I turned it back the next day.
Why?
I didn't like it.
I'm sorry to hear that.
I'm big. I'm 6'2", 255. It just felt very uncomfortable. And
it's small. It's a small camera.
And I couldn't read the menus. I go, oh my God, it's 4-point type. It was, even with glasses, I was going, And so I sent it back. And you wouldn't believe what I got in its place.
Darren,
I swore I would never get another Canon again. No more Canons. So I go back to Sammy's camera in Los Angeles, and I said, yeah, I'm returning this one. It's just too small. And he goes, I told you. He goes, so what do you want to do? And my wife's with me. My wife always says I spend too much on gear. And she goes, well, Larry, do you have any other camera he could get now? I feel so guilty about this.
Well, your wife isn't the only wife that thinks you spend too much money on gear.
Yeah,
so
I know.
I don't do that.
So what I left with, so we bought a Canon 7D Mark II.
I think you actually mentioned. I was checking out your podcast before I came on. I think you actually mentioned that. You almost seemed surprised by the fact that you bought.
I did because I swore I'll never buy another Canon. I'm sick of their lack of innovation. I want 4K. I want this. No articulating screen, and I bought it and I actually like it.
I've heard great things. Scott Kilby loves his 7D Mark II. He loves
That's right. I saw him do an interview regarding that, and he goes, "It's amazing. It's so fast."
Yeah.
I practice martial arts on the side, and I tried some sequences, like as fast as I could move for about 3 seconds. Every shot was nailed perfectly.
I believe it. Which martial art do you take? Or do you do? Which martial art do you do?
I've been doing. Well, I started out with karate when I was a kid, and then I started when I was 10. Then I do Shaolin Kung Fu, Northern Shaolin Kung Fu, Tai Chi, all the Chinese martial arts. I've been doing that for a long time, teaching, and I don't teach that much anymore, no time, but it's a lot of fun. Still practice.
Cool. Very, very cool. I take an obscure martial art myself. That's why I was just curious. I hope I just wanted to know. I was just curious.
No, it's a lot of fun. Did you practice?
No, I do something. I used to do this really obscure. It's kind of similar to a Krav Maga, like Israeli self-defense. It's called Haganah, which means the defense in Hebrew, and it's basically a hybrid of Krav Maga and Muay Thai. And it's a really wild and great street-ready martial art.
Very effective. It's very effective, to the point.
Yes, it's street defense. It's great. I love it.
Yeah, it's good. That's good stuff. It's fun too.
Yeah, it is. It really is. It definitely is.
So now getting back to our camera. So I got the 7D Mark II and actually really love it. And I got the Sigma. I think you reviewed this one, the Sigma 18 to 35.
I did. Great
That
lens.
is a great
Wonderful
lens.
Yeah.
It's really a nice, and for the price, $799.
It's amazing. It's a
It
zoom
is
with an
amazing.
f1.8. It's amazing.
Yeah, I like it. And I also got, now on the Micro Four Thirds, I got the Nocticron, the 42.5 f1.2. That's an amazing lens.
Wonderful
And
lens as
I
well.
also got the Olympus 40 to 150. Again, another amazing lens. But I do notice one thing with the Micro Four Thirds. I don't know if you've run into this. I did a video. This was at a trade show. I did kind of a photo shoot for a booth I was helping out in. Every shot was blurry. I've never
Wow.
done that in my life. I'm sitting going, what did I do? I completely screwed up. Time to kill myself. I mean, it was horrible. Never happened. And I realized I was using the 40 millimeter Panasonic Leica lens.
Okay.
It's not stabilized, and I forgot. And I was moving fast, just like the quick chunk, chunk, chunk. Everything out of focus.
Yeah.
I was crying.
You know, you got to pay attention to your shutter speed, man.
And I was too open. And
Yeah.
I just went, I can't believe I did that. It
You know,
was
a good tip
frustrating.
for me in that situation. If I'm in a place where the light's changing all the time, I'll just turn on automatic ISO. It's not ideal,
Yep.
but at least, and I think you can set a minimum shutter speed
Mm-hmm.
so that I think like 1/60th, and if you had 1600 ISO, I think in most cases, even with an f2.8 lens and Micro Four Thirds, you probably would be fine.
Yep. But at an f1.2 and an f1.8, I was suffering. I just had it too open. You could tell there was too much light coming in. I was on auto ISO, but my frame speed was about 1/50th or 1/60th. It was too fast.
Were you
Too slow.
overexposing?
It was too slow.
Were you overexposing?
I was overexposing, and that caused the just enough to cause. And when I didn't overexpose, it was good, but there was just enough lack of focus where I needed it. And that
Gotcha.
was a good lesson. Boy, was that a lesson.
Yeah, always check your settings when you're shooting, because if you know what your limitations are, I try to keep it around a minimum of 1/100th or 1/125th, just to make sure that the shot is sharp.
Yeah, that's what I should have done.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't say I got cocky. I just never had that problem before. And I'm used to shooting with Canons. For the most part, I've had Canons forever, and they work. I never had a problem with blurriness on Canon. But on the Micro Four Thirds with those lenses,
Interesting. I haven't really run into that. I've been pretty fortunate. I've had great, wonderful experiences with my Olympus cameras. I really have.
Yeah.
And I've got a GH4 as well, and I think it's great too. I think ergonomically, if your hands aren't huge, the ergonomics of the Olympus to me are just excellent. But that's just my opinion.
to me, I felt like my lower hand was getting kind of nudged into the lens. Of course, these were the bigger lenses too, which probably wasn't a good idea.
Hold on
And
one
it was
second, guys. My
uncomfortable.
kids are about to run through the front door, and when they do, they're going to make a lot of noise. So
That's fine. That's fine.
So my computer's right by the front door.
Jeff, you
So
can scream to counter that, right?
I can. Yeah, I just keep yelling and talking to the camera. Well, they're about to come in, but we'll see here in a second. But anyway, carry on. Keep going. Don't mean to interrupt. Go ahead.
Jeff?
You can edit this part out later.
Oh, that's right. Well, it's getting back to the said with the Sony A7 and with the likes and dislikes, but I think you did quite a good all-round review on it. But what I liked with it was the stabilization, just when you're standing still, because the thing that I really hate with any video is just when you're standing still and holding it nice and steady, there's still that movement. But the Sony seems to cater for that, and that's what I'm sort of looking for in a lot of cameras. What would you think? Would you say the camera of choice you would say for most people? Would it be the Panasonic GH4, or what would you say if you for a starting out photographer? What would be the ideal starting camera for them?
I think that's kind of a... Here, hold on one second, guys. I'm sorry. Hey, Max, I'm on the computer. I'm having a conversation with someone. Can you keep your voice down? Thank you. Sorry, guys. Like I said, maybe you can edit that one out in a minute. My apologies. If somebody was just starting out, I think it would really depend on what they were trying to do. If they're going to be a hobbyist or somebody trying to be a professional. Because I think those are two very different thought processes as far as what to buy first. And it also would depend on. You want to say hi? You might recognize this guy from some of the reviews.
Hey, he's the famous kid. We see him all the time. Hi there.
On the scooter,
Yep,
and in the
running
swimming
full
pool.
speed at you.
That was the other one. This
that was
is
the other one.
Oh, the other one.
This is the little guy. This is Max.
Hey, Max.
He's a monster, and this is he's a little monster, but he's cool. So you might see his face pop up periodically in the videos. So, and you want to say hi too? Come here, come on over here.
Who is this?
Yeah, I'm doing a video podcast for these guys who are familiar with my channel and they ask some questions. Here, come on over here, so you can say hello. This is the other guy.
Yep,
been
hey,
saying
he's the one who runs fast.
And
I'm trying to get it.
here's the big one. Say hi.
There you are. How you doing?
Scooter.
Hi.
Sorry, guys. All
Yeah,
right, let me get back to you.
I have a scooter too, by the way.
Just FYI, he has a scooter too. All right.
That's
So,
nice. Actually, that's
okay.
fun.
So, going back to the question with regard to which camera would I get first, again, it's two different thought processes. If I'm doing it personally for family and friends, then I would run out and buy an Olympus tomorrow for two reasons. One, relatively small and compact, actually three reasons. Relatively easy to use, and the lens selection is just excellent. For a hobbyist, you could use it professionally, but again, I've got that issue with the one card slot, and the battery life on the Olympus is just kind of mediocre as well. If I were just starting out, I wanted to be professional and do potentially do weddings. A couple of things I want is the largest sensor I could afford. So I either try to get either APS-C or full frame, and I either get a Canon or a Nikon with two memory card slots. And
Yeah.
it really, it's not even the camera so much as it is the lenses, because you want, if you're just starting out, you want to get that 24x70 or equivalent, and a 70 to 200 or equivalent. That's the two safest lenses to start with, and they're very versatile. They're generally good across all manufacturers. So personal, Olympus with some nice lenses. Professionally, either a Canon or a Nikon, two memory card slots, and a couple of really decent lenses.
Yeah. Which one do you shoot weddings with right now, primarily?
That's a great question. Primarily, I picked up a Nikon for the first time about a year and a month ago, roughly, about October, November of 2014. There's a really great and well-known wedding photographer in Philadelphia. His name's Cliff Mountner. He's a Nikon evangelist, and he's great. I mean, he's a phenomenal wedding photographer. And the thing that really impressed me the most about him was his low light shooting and how he really just used a little bit of light to paint these shadows. And I remember saying to myself at the time, I was like, he can't be using a Canon because the shadow recovery on Canons is rough. I mean, if you ever try to raise shadows even on a 5D Mark III,
Right.
the shadow recovery is just kind of granular and speckled and just not pretty. And I'm like, and the guy used Nikon, so I saw the D750, and I've been using Canon for about almost exclusively to that point. I've been tooling with Olympus just for more personal stuff, but some professional as well. But I saw the work you did with Nikon, so I grabbed the D750 and the 85 f1.8 and a 28 f1.8, and I started shooting, and the low light capabilities on those cameras are absolutely amazing to me. They're just amazing to me. So to answer the question right now, for wedding work specifically, it's Nikon, almost across the board.
Interesting. Okay.
But for outdoor portraiture and good light, it's Canon.
Okay.
So,
I've been looking at
I use Olympus where I can, if I can, professionally. Because if I can recreate a shot, or if I have the option to shoot the same thing over and over again, like it's a setup scene, then I have no problem using Olympus.
Yeah, I was thinking of getting the Nikon. I think it's the DA10. It looks beautiful, but
it's amazing.
The investment in lenses stopped me because I went, they're expensive.
They're
even more than Canon.
Yeah. Well, you know what? These days, between Tamron, Tokina, and Sigma, there's a lot of really good third-party options out there for not nearly as much money as the first-party options from both of those guys.
Yeah.
You know, even the Sony FE lenses, the native FE lenses, they're expensive.
They are.
They really are.
They are. Are those the Zeiss ones?
Yeah, I'm thinking specifically of the Primes, the Zeiss 35, which is like $1,500, $1,600.
That's a lot
and
for
the
35.
Zeiss 55 is $1,000. And again, it's only f1.8. So
Are those cinema lenses?
No, they're not.
No.
They're standard. You know, they don't breathe that much, like when you're focusing, but they're fly-by-wire, so they would drive cinematographers crazy.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. I always wonder what photographers like, because there's so many choices, and Jeff and I have talked a lot about this on the show, 4K versus 1080. And yes, you get so much nicer editing out of 4K. But I tell you, what Canon, for example, comes out with on 1080 is gorgeous.
Right.
So, end result is probably still 1080 out there, though finally the 4K TVs are coming out. They're not that expensive anymore.
No. In fact, they're what the 1080s were a year ago now.
Mm-hmm.
You go to Costco, there are 4K TVs all over the place. They're $1,000 or $1,500.
That's amazing.
It's not fancy anymore.
Yeah, so maybe we will see 4K, at least personally, out there. I don't know about transmitting 4K. It's going to be slow. The studios don't move fast.
No.
But it is interesting.
Well, I've talked to a few editors recently, a few Hollywood editors, and they'll tell me that 4K, even today, is still overkill for regular television.
It is.
And, but they'll tell you, if you're doing a big studio movie on the big screen, then 4K is a different story.
Right.
But the majority of what we consume on our cell phones or even on a 50-inch television, 1080 is plenty of resolution.
Now, I know we're running out of time. What do you like as far as your post-processing for pictures? Do you use Lightroom, Capture One? What do you like?
I primarily use Lightroom, but I do use a whole suite of plugins, and plugins for me range from anywhere from Photoshop, Photoshop CC or whatever it is now.
Yep.
I use a lot of plugins like I still love the Nik software bundle. I use Portrait Professional. I admit it. I use Portrait Professional, and not because I think it's the greatest piece of software in the world. It just saves me a ton of time, and it does a good enough job if I reel it back, because it really wants to make people's faces look like plastic fantastic. But once you dial it back a little bit, you can make it look a little bit more natural.
That's pretty good. Yeah, I know a lot of photographers were irritated by Adobe recently. I guess they really screwed up Lightroom.
The most recent one, you mean?
Yeah, the recent update.
Module?
I'm sorry, what?
Yeah, so put back the import feature now that they've fixed it up again.
Yes, correct. I thought that was confusing. If there were issues that needed to be fixed with Lightroom, that wasn't one of them. I was curious why they went that route.
No.
Yep.
I'm just a bit worried. I saw this morning there's about 15 updates from Photoshop and everything this morning. So.
Oh, great. I haven't checked yet, but I will at some point tonight, I'm sure.
Now, when you do video editing, because you do a lot of videos, and by the way, I love your video quality. Your stuff looks sharp, it's clean. When you do your 2 to 3 minutes of, here's a sample, it's really nice stuff, and I imagine you film it all around your area. It's very pretty out there. So you do a very nice...
When I say beautiful sunny Naples, Florida, I actually mean it. I have the good fortune of being able to live in a lot of places. I've traveled a lot, and Naples is probably the first place I've lived in my life that I haven't really felt the urge to leave and go somewhere else and try some other place. I've been here for about 13 years now. That's a record for me since I grew up in the Boston area.
Well, that's what I thought. You're a Pats fan.
I'm a huge Pats fan. Yes.
Yeah, you had a bad weekend last weekend.
Yeah, I know.
I cheer for them too half the time, so I'm just going, how could you lose to a third-string quarterback? No, it's wrong.
It was more like third-string referees, if you ask me. But that's another story.
That too.
So, that holding call, I looked at that, I'm like, look, I'm never one to blame the referees, but that was a rough call. Even Chris Collinsworth was like, I don't know about that one.
I actually want Brady to win one more Super Bowl before he retires, because they do play damn well. They're amazing.
You and me both. I am totally on board with that. That would be great.
I think it'd be cool. They get a bad rap from everybody, but that's because they win.
Of course.
That's really what it is.
Something funny. You mentioned the Nocticron. Did you see that? I did review the 42.5 Nocticron. I don't know if you remember, but I actually brought it with me to the Patriot KC game.
That's right. Yep, I remember that, and it was sharp. It looked great.
Yeah. We had good seats.
In fact, I think after seeing that, I said, I think I do want that lens.
That's a wonderful, wonderful lens. It really is.
The technology is amazing, and it's not really heavy either.
That's what it is. It's great.
The one that's more forgiving, at least when I'm not messing up, is the 12 to 35 Panasonic, and that's clean. That's a fast, nice. I don't get blurry on that ever. It's only on the Noctricon and the 40. Not the Noctricon, the 40 millimeter killed me. It's also not stabilized. Neither is the GH4.
Right.
So, stupid me not thinking about that at the moment, going, how could I forget stabilization? And partly because with the Canons, they're heavy. You're kind of naturally stabilized.
Right.
Whereas with the other ones, like I always tell people,
it's funny because the GH4 is a great camera, except that it doesn't have stabilization. But I think over time, there isn't a photographer out there that hasn't made that same mistake. There isn't one out there that hasn't said, they get so wrapped up, and they'll put one lens on there, the camera will be set up for that lens. They'll change to a bigger one with a narrower aperture, and they'll forget the aperture is narrower, and it's now, instead of shooting at 1/100th, they're shooting at 1/20th. I don't know why, and it's like, everything's blurry, and you just forget, it just happens.
But it's really pathetic. I mean, I've been doing this for a long time. I'm getting old. It's just when I can't believe I did this. So, anyway, I mean, I've taught video and photography, so I'm going, oh, that's just pathetic. So, anyway, and what do you do your video editing with?
Final Cut Pro for the most part. Final Cut Pro.
That's Jeff's favorite.
Yeah, it's iMovie on steroids, which I know the Hollywood guys hate. But truthfully, 90% of what I do with Final Cut, I could probably do in iMovie. Because iMovie is pretty capable for what it is. But I use some plugins with Final Cut Pro that I think are really neat. There's Motion Effects has some really neat LUTs that you can plug in. They're wonderful. Yeah, FX Factory has some nice ones. I'm sorry?
FX Factory has some really nice ones.
Oh, I haven't used them before.
Oh, they're amazing. They've got a ton of them, and you could probably buy almost everything they have for about $500-600, but they have a lot of good ones.
Oh, great. Just what I need, more gear, more stuff to buy. My wife would love to see that, so yeah, that's what I need.
But the thing is, I find, though, Rick, with Final Cut, there's a lot of these extra plugins, but you usually find it comes standard with Final Cut anyway. A lot of times. You get this lovely plugin, and then there's already a plugin. It's just called a different name in Final Cut. So
that's true.
Right. Well, the plugin will just make it easier to make that feature work. I mean, I find that some of the feature set of Final Cut Pro, you have to dig to find it.
Yeah.
It's not super intuitive.
One of the things I like about Final Cut Pro is being able to apply an effect into part of a clip. I don't have to put the effect on the whole clip. I can just do 10 seconds of that clip rather than chopping it up into 3 little separate clips and applying the effect to that. But I use both. I use Premiere as well, but I still fall back to Final Cut.
Well, you know what, guys? We were going to do a 15 to 20 minute show, and we're going on 45. I told you it's addicting when we start.
It's all your fault, Rick.
We really appreciate you coming on, and we'd love to have you on again in the future. And we always plug your podcast and tell people about you. So definitely, we'll continue doing that. And again, a pleasure to meet you finally, at least virtually.
Yes.
And you got at least 2 fans right here. So.
Cool. Well, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
No, that's been great. And anything you're going to be doing soon? Any talks? Any appearances? Anything in the near future?
I can tell you that in January I'm going up to Mystic, that Mystic conference out in Portland, Oregon.
Okay.
That's coming up in the next month, and then there will be some big announcements coming from Darren Miles Photography here in the next week to 2 weeks. I can't talk about it just yet, but it's a big deal more. So for my stuff than just about anything else. Not even YouTube related, just business related. It's kind of a big deal.
Cool.
So I'm looking forward to that. And I'll keep you guys abreast what that's all about.
That sounds great. Well, good luck on that.
Thank you.
And you heard it here first. The secret we can't tell you about. So
well, keep your fingers crossed. Everything looks good right now, but keep your fingers crossed for me.
That sounds great. Well, good luck, and we wish you luck on that. And have a good dinner, because I know it's about your dinner time right now. So
sure is. We're getting hungry. My kids are hovering over here.
Yeah, they're like, come on, get rid of these guys. It's time to eat.
Right. That's right.
Well, have a great one, and we'll see you soon another time. And for all of you guys watching on YouTube, please subscribe, and we'll see you next week. Next week, we've got Dave Dugdale. So we will see you very soon on Tech Down Over. Have a good weekend, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye for now.
You guys, you still there?